Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello.
everyone.
Um,
Bonjour. Lord,
It's like we've never left.
what a timely bunch as well. Are you making a suggestion about people's hygiene habits, Serena?
I did realise I'm wearing the same fleece actually as soon as you said that.
Oh, I'm wearing the same jumper as well.
Hey! But that's why we're using Zoom, right? To avoid the smell of each other.
Yeah.
Ruben, I'm surprised you're not wearing
There's
your
a fear
FNM
of God
hoodie.
in me for the in-person meeting.
Yeah.
No, the one is in the laundry.
Oh, is
After
it?
our last conversation,
Yeah.
that needed cleaning.
I wondered if you had one for every day of the week, actually.
Yeah, I've asked for it, but I got no reply.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Just turn it inside out.
Yeah,
Is that what you do?
Yeah, obviously.
but I want a version with on Monday, trust the process, and the same one for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Well, each one could have a
Different
one of
slogan.
Keith's,
Finish music on
sound bites.
Monday, finish music on Tuesday,
Yeah.
finish music on Wednesday.
Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
By
then
Friday,
finish your
it's
track.
by Friday, it's trust the fucking process, Ruben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think we are good to go. I think we're just missing Anne, maybe, I think. All cool in school. Welcome back, beautiful people. Alrighty. So you've had, I hope, a bit of white space to have a little think about the plan, the battle plan, the goals, all the way top down to what your projects are. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just open space for anyone who's got any questions, uncertainties, lacking confidence, if buts, maybes, what abouts, need to fine tune, refine. Can I just get your thoughts on this type space? Then when we've got that done and everyone's like, no, we're good to go. Let's set the 2-week sprint. We'll set the 2-week sprint. And so I'll guide you as to how to do that. And effectively what you're going to end up with is a list of stuff that you're going to get done in the next 2 weeks. That's going to be like a push, but you're going to be 100% committed to it. So it's not going to be a dividing everything down equally that you think you need to get done in 90 days. No, it's front loading. It's going to be like, and all of that stuff that you might or might not do. And then when we've got that done, and it's got a little bit of a twist to it this time as well, I like to keep everyone on their toes. We are then going to talk about how you maintain all of this stuff across your 90 days. And then finally, we are going to just talk about what the feedback sessions look like. So I promised everyone that before we arrive at a new session, something in our roadmap in the program, I'll make sure you're well informed. Any questions, anything's covered. So you always know what we're going to be doing next, how you're going to do it, what you need to prepare, if you need to prepare, and so on and so forth. Got the battle plan, everyone? Test the magic thumbs. Beautiful. Love it. Sarah, I think you gave 1 thumb. Unacceptable. Correct. Beautiful. All right. Parky, you did have your hand up.
I did, but I think you were about to. I was going to say when I've done sprints, I've really done really well in the sprint, had massive, quite a lot of success. And then I've kind of come down the other side and then had to take a week to recover from it. But I think you did say in your kind of bit there that you were going to say how to maintain it. So
within
that's
my preamble,
yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, there is a degree of get on with it, you lazy devil, as well.
Yeah.
I know that's a bit harsh. I know, yeah, it can be like that. Rest, recuperation, and taking care of yourself is important. But yeah, there's a maintaining it, but not at that level. I mean, it is a 2-week sprint, and we're not expecting people to go, right, now you've just gone like, holy cow, that was crazy for 2 weeks. Now do it every 2 weeks for the whole year, you lot. It's not quite like that. There's now we get down to a little bit of a less intense, but nevertheless, you're shooting for stuff. You got to show up differently here. It's not, this stuff's not, if anyone thinks that, oh, well, I've made a plan, it's just dropping out the sky now, that's all right, put my feet up and watch Netflix. Of course that's not happening. I don't need to tell you guys that. You all know that. You're here to achieve breakthroughs, and a breakthrough requires breakthrough actions. I'm not going to dress that up and pretend that's any different. Anytime you want to get past something, not only does it require breakthrough actions, but it requires you showing up as a new version of yourself. And maybe, depending how we get on, we might do some training on that, although I suspect I might leave it for another time because I don't want too many melted brains going forward. But I have a piece of training that some of the guys already know called the box, which talks about this and how to know when you're kind of brushing up against your limits and how to get past them. And that's absolutely essential, because things are not going to change for you if you keep operating in the same way you've operated before. If the same fears and things that you said you would let go of in the Mount Everest, you're not taking an active stance on letting go of those things, then you're going to get the same results. Every time you butt up against what I call the flinch, which is like, right, I'm going to do this. Like, for example, Parky talking about sending your tracks out, like, right, I'm going to do that. I'll do it tomorrow. That's cool. Awesome. Because tomorrow's easy as hell for all of us. And then it comes to it, it's like, but that needs a tweak. And in that moment is a choice. In that moment is a choice. That moment tells you you're literally banging up against the walls of the reality that you've created for yourself that's keeping you held in this current reality. And in that moment, it's a simple choice. Am I going to be with this and push on anyway? Or am I going to do what I always did and get the same result I always got? It's a choice. And there's nothing, the beautiful thing about this is this isn't life-threatening. Ain't no one jumping out of planes here. No one's doing the Richard Branson hot air balloon or trying to fly to space. It's simply discomfort. And it's a choice in that moment. Do I go, oh, hello, old friend. You again, you the same old stuff that stops me moving forward. This is uncomfortable. I'm prepared to paddle upstream on this one. I'm getting through it. And every time you do that, it gets less, because you do it and then you go, oh my gosh, I'm all right. The net sum end result of me butting up against my anxiety or fear is nothing other than progress. Beautiful. So we'll talk more about these things, and maybe we'll do the box training, or maybe we'll leave it. Let's start with this. Anyone got any questions? When you looked at your goals and you worked it all the way down, big outcomes, 90-day goals, battle plan you got together, talked in groups yesterday, got other people's thoughts, fill in your bubble, went away, looked at it and went, if buts, maybes, what abouts, anything that you would like to put forward, now is the time. Ruben, what have you got?
Well, it's a bit of, and I think I'm in a good place, because for the first time of my life, I have to go into dark space. So that means I haven't been there yet. But the problem I have, and I can feel it in my head, because my migraines are terrible at the moment, because the resistance is so high. I don't have a very solid route, but that's what you were explaining. If you know the routes, then you're following your old tracks. So for some reason, my mind is totally freaked out about that. And I think but I want to be sure about that. I just have to start. But I have no idea where it will lead or what the next step will be.
So do you have a first step?
Yeah, but that is about exploring. So take the first step towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share something with you. Can you see this lady?
Yep.
Yes, beautiful. Elaine Culotti. What a force of nature this lady is. So last year, Anna and I watched a show called Undercover Billionaire. Okay, and I recommend it to everyone if you haven't watched it yet. It's season 2 to watch. It is a long old slog. there's a lot of episodes. You don't need to watch it all, and in fact, you don't even need to watch anybody other than her. In my recommendation, the premise of the show is really, really simple. They took 3 people who are not billionaires in this case. They're all multi-millionaires, incredibly successful people in building businesses, and they set them a challenge. They basically said, here's like an old rundown like SUV or car or whatever it was. Here's $100 and here's a mobile phone that's we'll pay the credit for. And here's a fake identity, and you're not allowed to use any of your contacts or do anything whatsoever. And we're going to drop you in some kind of somewhat little town, not like a big bustling city like New York. It was in the US. And you have got 90 days to turn that $100 into $1 million. 90 days. You got nowhere to live. Like they get literally nothing. You got your suitcase with some clothes in it, and that was a lot. And then like they had a laptop and so on. So enough just to get started for the day. And you've got 90 days in which to turn this into $1 million. What a great idea for a show, I thought. So we watched it.
And they don't get access to any of their contacts.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like they've got to use their fake identity. So they can't go bustling in and go like, oh, I'm this person and I've achieved all of that stuff. Now, the only thing that, of course, is a bit of an advantage is they're being followed around by a camera crew. So people are somewhat curious about their credentials in some way, shape or form. But it's obviously all done under the guise that this is, just about somebody who's building a local business, that kind of thing. And we're just following them. Anyway, this lady is an absolute force of nature. And I talked a little bit about this before, which was the idea of the SAS and just in the world, special forces they make a plan and then they go off into uncertainty and stuff happens. And they're like, well, this just happened. What do I do next? And this lady was an absolutely incredible watching her do it. She started up a business that had nothing to do with what she does in the real world, which is a property developer. And she was like going to turn this thing into a deli and all of this stuff. And she managed to literally day one, managed to find some digs in exchange for her. I mean, look at her. She's quite a lady of elegance. She's quite well off, scrubbing the toilets and doing all of this stuff in order to get somewhere to live in some rundown like horror place. But she looked around and thought, God, this could be something. And she talked to the owner, and basically what happened was, yes, she was inventing the plan. Okay, it's going to go like this. I can see this could be the next step. And of course, using her business nous, but keep running up against issues and problems. And this is where the optimism piece really, really comes into this, because things would go horribly wrong just when it looked like everything was going right, quite regularly. And one thing that really sticks in my mind, when she was really getting to the finish line and they were running out of money and they got all the food in the deli and it had, people were going to be able to take the takeout, sit in, catering for different things. And she gets up in the morning and she still doing this thing, wanders downstairs. They've got it all kitted out and all the food's gone off. And she's like, what's gone on here? And there's no power. And it turned out the dopey bollocks electrician had forgot to put the power back on the day before when he'd finished, and all the food had gone to waste. And in that moment, all the plans kind of gone out the window, obviously. And what she does is she goes, her way of dealing with things, other than having a go at someone. And he was so nonchalant about it. He was like, yeah, I just forgot. And then just walked off as though no biggie. And she would go outside or in a room and you would just literally hear her go, having this complete meltdown for about a minute. And then she'd take a minute to get a new plan and away she would go. And I just see this again and again and again and again with successful people. It's how they operate. And I've got a quote from her that is where bringing this full circle for you, which I love. Try it, do it, and fumble through it, it should say. Try it, do it, and fumble through it. This is the difference between success and failure for anyone. That's to say, anyone here who thinks your plan is going to work, it won't. Okay. At some point, there are going to be kinks. Things are going to go right. Things are going to go not right. Things are going to be requiring a tweak or an improvement. And sometimes we just don't know what the path is. We really can't see it. And the first step is to figure out what could the path be and start. And that's the difference, Ruben. Even people like this. And so the point being is, like, no one is unique. If you're like, I don't feel that this is fully perfect, providing you've got the first steps, the first thing to do, you're there. I know where I'm going, and she knew where she was going. Of course, this Delhi idea. I know what it is that this thing is going to be, where I want to get to. I know how to get started, where to look, what to research, who to ask. That's all you need, literally. And providing you keep that in mind, and keep saying to yourself, well, goddamn, if all these top people, you know, Richard Branson, not the first Scooby-Doo of how to get into space, figured it out. Crazy, crazy stuff. The path that you're treading, loads of people have already been down it. So you can absolutely find out ways that you could go. And that's the one other thing that I think, you know, without wanting to labor this point, these are ways that we could go. And we pick the one that sometimes we can't even make a decision on which is the path to go down. So what I mean by that is that we have multiple different paths that come up in front of us, and we assess them. Yeah, at its most basic level, and I've got tools for this I can help you guys with, but its most basic level, people do like pros and cons, right? And sometimes you're like, well, this, and this, and you're like, well, I cannot differentiate what is the path to go down here. Back to this, try it, do it, and fumble through it. Choose a path because you choose a path. Literally, I choose because I choose, because side means to kill off. Suicide, homicide, decide means to kill off all options. And if it's not clear which ones to kill off, then we're left with choose because I choose. And that means forget all the pros and cons, forget everything that's gone before. I choose because I choose. And it doesn't matter what, win, lose, or draw. I choose because I choose. And this is going to play out how it plays out. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to fumble through it. And maybe I'll learn something that makes another path clear. Or maybe I'll keep choosing because I choose. But you will always learn by doing. Do the thing, have the power. Does that make sense, Ruben?
Yeah, it does. And I do have all those skills. Even there was one time this day, my brain was like, oh yeah, but we don't have to worry about this because tomorrow someone is going to tell us how we're going to do it. But that person is going to be me in the masterclass. So that was even even stupider. But yeah, I think it's great to dance with the I can't pin it down because I'm very aware of myself and doing the meditation. But there is so much resistance, but there's absolutely no reason. So my brain doesn't come up with I can't do it, or no, there is trust. I understand everything, but still you're like at the first step and you're like, yeah, you first, you first. Yeah, I know where I'm going, you first. And so I think it's great, but need some time to adjust to that feeling, I think.
Yeah, it's a good do you meditate at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. So that's what I would take into meditation. Being with it. Being with the feeling. And there are things that you can try on this where you can literally sit with it. And I've got a podcast on this called The Rain Technique, which I'm a huge fan of. So whenever we've got some kind of emotion, and it's at the end of the day, and here's some thoughts on this that may be useful. Emotions aren't good or bad. However, we tend to label them as such. So for a lot of people, when they think of anxiety, they think it's bad, I shouldn't be feeling this. And the minute that someone says I shouldn't be feeling this, they've made themselves wrong for feeling it. That's what should does. That's why it's kind of Anna sometimes jokes about oh, Keith's not here, I'll use the word should, but I'm like fastidious about it, and I will call you out on it, all of you, every second that I hear a should, need, must, or ought, because when you do it, you're either making
It's
yourself
infuriating.
yeah, but it's so true, because the byproduct of it is you've immediately made yourself or someone else wrong. If you say someone should have done something like this, you literally just made them wrong. So when we have different emotions and feelings, first and foremost, we label them. We call something anxiety. I mean, that's not even a thing. There is just a sensation that's happening in our body, the end, but we label it anxiety a lot of the time, and then we add I shouldn't be going through this, I shouldn't feel this, and all of those different things. So the first thing for me is to acknowledge, okay, there's a sensation in my body at the moment. That's it. Anything else is a story, an attachment, a meaning that's just been added. The what is in that moment is there's a sensation in my body. That literally is the be all and end all of it all the time. Everything else is a story that sits around it. So when we go into meditation, the beautiful thing about that is that we're in a state where we start to observe our thoughts and stories, and we can let those go and get into a state of just being with the sensation. Now, the RAIN technique I particularly love because number one is recognize, okay, there's a sensation in my body. Number two, is allow. And for me, allow means flooding my body with it. It's like, okay, there's this sensation. Let's just relax and let's just let this thing wash over me. Now, this is a cognitive behavioral therapy technique, it turns out as well, flooding ourselves with an emotion because it proves to us we can be with it and it dials it down. I've just found that out. I didn't know that was a thing, but it is it's like cognitive overload or something. It's not overload. It's not that word, but it's something like that. And so then we allow that in our body, and then the I is for inspect. So we're now like, okay, now this thing is complete. It's dialed up. It's like I've cranked this thing up to 12 because I've allowed it to completely take over. This is as full on as this sensation is going to be, and then we inspect it. So a lot of people do like the body scan. If you've done meditation, start at the top of your head, go down. What's the physical sensation I'm feeling here? And you can see what's happening is all the stories have got no place to exist anymore. We're literally examining now the physical sensation. And then the N is for non-permanence. Every single sensation that we have in our body is transitory. Nothing is permanent. We all know that. Like you can be walking down the road having the best day ever in the sun and the phone goes and someone's got some bad news. And it's like, now I've got this problem. And then you're like living in that for a while. And then you speak to someone and like, oh no, I fixed that like this. Do you just do this? And in an instant, boom, that's gone. And now we're feeling relief. It's like, it's just like I said, the clouds in the sky. And what happens going through a meditation like that, and sometimes it can take time. You know, you could, if you're really are so cranked up with a sensation that you're kind of debilitated by it, it can take time to dial it down. And that's the name of the game. Because it's not bad, we're not trying to get rid of it. We're simply dialing it down to a level in which we can continue to act in the way we want to act in the world. And so going through that process and sitting with it proves to us that we can be with it, and then it loses its hold on us. And a quick story on this, there was a time a few years back where I was sitting in my studio in the UK, sitting cross-legged meditating, because we had an issue that had come up in the business, and like my anxiety like spiked through the roof. And I was like, right, I'm not even able to think straight right now to get this thing resolved. I know there's a solution to this, no problem, but I'm no use to no one in this state trying to figure out what that solution is. So I went and I sat and I just did this exact thing that I've described to you guys. And as I was doing the body scan bit, I was sitting there for quite a while, like just being with this thing and just acknowledging the thoughts until the monkey mind calmed down and I was able to move into the next stage of it. I was doing the body scan thing, like, can I be with this? What am I feeling? And it dawned on me that the actual thing that was the most uncomfortable in my body at the moment was where I was sitting cross-legged. I cut the blood off to my foot. And it was, can you imagine in that moment, all of the anxiety was just like, oh, that's a bit of a damp squid. Actually, I've got a numb foot and that's the worst thing in my world right now. And it just dissipated down to a background noise and then we got on and we fixed it. So when you're coming up against that, my advice is to take space for yourself, self-care, meditate. And the more you do it, the more you'll be with these things. And then for you particularly, Ruben, you've got this amazing skill set that you'll lean on. You'll get that clarity of thought and you'll be like, right, here's the system. I'm an expert in this. Teach it to myself. This is what I'm going to do. Let's go. And it may be that this feeling peaks up again a few hours later. If it's just go with the meditation, it will lose its power sooner rather than later. Is that useful?
Yeah, I have the solution because I'm far too good at that. I still try to solve it, but I need to stop doing that because that is my pitfall. I need to just accept it and not act on it. Of course, I'm going to feel uncomfortable and that is okay. And if I meditate, it will go away for half an hour and then it will spike again. And if I do the rain technique, it will come again and again and again. But if I just accept it for I am in this process and I even paid money for it to be here, accept the feeling and
money
continue
for
with
discomfort. Welcome, everybody. He's just lifted the lid on what's gone on here. Perfect. So do you feel you're able to move forward and get it done? Beautiful. I love it. Simon.
Before we go into Simon, Keith, I just wanted to highlight something that happened in the comments. I'm not sure you saw it, but I thought it was super cool. Jaime actually created the music for the Billionaire, what is it called? Undercover show. Yeah.
Oh, Undercover Billionaire. Woo! Love it.
Wow.
Nice one, man.
Things coming.
How cool is that? I think
Very
that might be
cool.
cropping up a lot. He's done a lot, so we can see what other shows we come up with that you've done the music to. That's amazing, man. How cool is that? Love it. Simon, where have you gone? You've disappeared on my screen. There you are.
I think I may have answered my own question as I was thinking about it here, actually. But so my working assumption after last night was that. And I still think this is true to a certain extent, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts, that there will be like a learning curve with the goal setting, right? In terms of like what's practically, or maybe not the goal setting, but maybe with the projects that underpin the goals, what's practically possible, what can be achieved. And that yardstick of what can be achieved will be continually moving because as you become more proficient at something, it takes you less time to complete the same task, right? Totally. So I guess really it's keeping the separation between the goal and the projects in terms of attaching meaning to the goals and the projects, so that you don't have to. What am I trying to say? So that you can still set your goals from that future perspective without sort of being cycling back to what's practical or what's realistic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
But in terms of managing that kind of learning curve with how to manage your projects and stuff, any advice on that really, so that you don't set something stupid?
How do you mean set something? So right, so you're saying you don't say, right, I'm going to finish a track a
million tracks in 31 days. Yeah.
Just there isn't. So if we said like set something stupid, then we have literally gone back into the world of meaning. And there isn't, at the end of the day, so what if you did?
Right.
All that would come from it is feedback. So if we go just in this particular example, because it is useful, if we go back to this, this thing, if you choose to use this, and it's just a tool, nobody has to use it if they don't want to, but I find it to be really useful in anything that we do. This is a tool that I brought with me from corporate that we used to use, and it's effectively what we call leading and lagging metrics without getting too into it. But for some people, you're like this. For others, it's like, no, too much data. Forget that. I'll just figure it out as I go along. But ultimately, if you go through this, by the end of the quarter, you'll be able to fill this in as to, this is what I thought would happen. So we talked about this yesterday in the breakout room, right? So for you, it was like, how many tracks was it sending at the top?
1 million. No, it wasn't.
5 or something, was it? I think we went with.
Yeah, it was get.
Finish 10, submit 5, and get how many released?
Submit 3 to get at least one release.
Right, okay. Yeah, so you'll put this in, okay, and then the game that you play is to focus on the bottom of the pyramid. So your game that is simply, I'm going to get this many sketches done if you choose to do it that way. This many tracks finished to demo stage, and then, you know, wherever you're gonna, you know, we talked about the members event, we talked about posting them in the FMM Plus group for getting thoughts on, maybe even running a poll, which ones do you guys think are the ones to send out into the world, whatever it is you want to do. That's where your strategy comes in, right? And then you send them out, and then you get X number signed. It might be more signed, it might be less signed, out of your control. At the top, completely out of your control. At the bottom, completely in your control. This is creativity. As you go up the ladder, this gets more out of control because it might just be that you have a really crap month. You know, added meaning to it, but just for dramatic effect. It might just be that stuff ain't kind of coming out the way you'd like it to come out. That's fine, you know. But at the end of the day, it tends to iron out over 90 days. That's why I love a 90-day period. Things tend to iron out. So next quarter, you go, right, I'm going to set these 90-day goals. I want to get more stuff signed. Forget about the pyramid. Out the window. We're setting goals. We don't worry about that stuff. It's like, right, I want this done. Then you come to the pyramid, and it's not what's realistic. The pyramid becomes, okay, so what data can I use to give myself the best possibility to hit this goal? What did I learn? That's all this tool is, a learning tool. If I made more sketches, I'd get more of this and I got more of that. Well, but yeah, but I was at flat, I was full on there. How do I make more sketches? Oh, there's an interesting question. In the time I've got, how can I be more efficient? Okay, let's have a chat with Keith about this. Has he got any ideas? Like, what might I be able to do here? Let's map out the process I'm following in the studio. Where am I being a perfectionist in here? Like, where's the real time going? If I was to have an honest conversation with myself about this, you know what? I'm wasting a bit of time there. Or this feels like it's taking too long. What resources, knowledge, tips, ideas, ways of working of people in the group? Like, you know, talk to the Mighty Hugs, Mr. Lee Huddleston. He smashes tracks out for fun. Different style of music, but what's he doing there? So the realism... we're not so much looking at the word realism. We're still setting the goal from the place of possibility and what lights you up and what's going to get you the outcome you want. We're just using the data to say, okay, what could be a new way of operating, a different way of showing up that gives me a better chance of hitting something bigger and better? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head. I do it all the time for work, a reverse back with numbers from where I want to be to what I've got to do the thing, right?
Yeah. And the important thing is, and I we'll talk about this in a bit, but I really want to impress on everyone that you set the goal, forget about the goal. I know it sounds utterly odd. Set the goal, forget the goal. We'll talk about checking in on the goal to course correct, but on a daily basis, it has no place in your existence. You've got a list of stuff to do, and that's the game. I'm going to do this stuff. This is fun. I'm writing music. I'm going in the studio. Let's smash out some sketches. I wonder what happens if. Creativity, play from a place of curiosity, excitement. God, I wonder what I'm going to make today. I wonder what's going to happen in here today. Oh, I've got this idea. Let's see how that pans out today. When we work from that place with a, you know, I wonder what it's going to be like finishing 2 tracks a week instead of a track a week. God, I'm really curious to see how that plays out. Playing the game, you play that game, the stuff at the top, the end goal takes care of itself. And if it doesn't, then we go, oh, that just happened. What do I need to do next? Try it, do it, fumble through it.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Yeah. That's the magic trick. The letting go of the goal is the forgetting about the goal and just saying this thing's going to pan out.
It's so counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's so counterintuitive. And as an example, we have, because we do this in the business as well. So when we have new people coming in to work in FMM, we teach them this, and they go through training to do this, and they feel incredibly uncomfortable, because when I ask them to set goals for the different metrics and different things that we do inside of the community, they are always setting it I know it's quite low, because they're in their mind is they don't want to risk not achieving that goal, because what they've been taught is if they don't achieve the goal, they will probably, get some kind of issues coming and maybe even get fired.
Yeah, in other work environments, in school, in college, in university.
And here, what we say is, you've got the goal, now forget about it. What I'm interested is all the list of actions that you're going to take in pursuit of that goal. And then at the end of the quarter or the end of the project, whatever it may be, the way that we're going to do is I sit down with them, I take that list of stuff that they said that they would do, and they committed 100%. And I go like, okay, well, number 1, did you do it? Yes. Number 2, did you do it? Yes. Number 3, did you do it? No. What got in the way? And that's what I'm interested in, And then at the bottom, we go like, did you achieve the goal? Yes or no? If yes, brilliant. If no, brilliant. Because now that will teach us what we needed to know. It's like, you're either going to get the results that you wanted or the lesson that you needed. And so the goal is kind of completely out of the question here. What I'm interested is, and then, so I usually tell them, I don't care whether you reach the goal or not. What I care is the list of stuff that you committed that you were going to do. Because if you don't achieve the goal, no problem. If you don't do the list of stuff that you committed to do, problem. Because those things are in your control. The goal isn't.
And also, and just for you guys yourselves, who you're marshalling yourselves with this, it does create a problem for you as well, because if you're saying you're going to do things and then you don't do them, and there's, of course, you can see when you've bitten off more than you can chew, but if we operate from a place of integrity, as in I didn't show up as best I could here, then when you look at the data, it's masked with, I could have shown up better there. So that all of a sudden the data is skewed with, I just didn't get on with it and I could have done, which is very different to I gave it my best shot and it seemed like it was too much. Oh, how can I get better at getting stuff done, or how can I change it, or what's a more efficient, effective path to take next time?
So the integrity is attached to the projects opposed to being attached to the goal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
Integrity is a promise made, is a promise kept.
Mm-hmm.
That's to say, I said I would do it. Did I do it or not? We can't be in integrity to something that's out of our control.
Yeah. That's the thing, that the penny that just dropped in my head, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Okay. Any more in your goals? Are we ready to get scribbling down the Sprintosaurus, and then we'll talk a little bit just about kind of maintenance stuff? Oh, good. All righty. Okay, so what you need, I love this bit, as you can see, is all of the projects and the tasks and all of the stuff that you've come up with that could get you towards your goal. So remember, it still might be a little bit of messiness that's going on at the moment, and that's cool. We've talked about the path will unfold as you do the stuff. Well, this is what you're going to be doing in the next 2 weeks, right? So make sure you've got that list in front of you. Super, super important. You can see it all stacked up in front of you. And I'm going to ask you some questions. And these are things basically that you're adding to your list that you're going to get done in the next 2 weeks. All right. And the idea is we're front loading. So we want this to be quite kind of full on. It's all right if you put too much on the list at this point. We will get it to the point that it needs to be at shortly. So please don't start censoring yourself heavily going, oh gosh, can't do that and all the rest of it. But what we're looking for here is like the Pareto principle on steroids, basically. The 20% of actions that will get 80% of the results. But we're actually, the way that I really want to do this is we're 80-20 the 80-20. So it's almost like the 4% of actions that get 64% of the results. It's like, what's the real stuff here that's the difference that makes the difference? So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. Some of them will be relevant to what you're doing and some will be irrelevant, but the ones that are relevant, make sure you get that stuff and get it scribbled down. Okay, here we go. So for your 2-week sprint, the stuff that you're going to be committed to do, how many pieces of music are you committing to finish? And if you're dividing this down by the total number for the quarter, you got it wrong, right? This is front loading. You want to do more. So how many tracks are you committing to finish? How many ideas are you committing to generate? So think about that pyramid. Maybe you generate X number of ideas and pick one in order to turn it into a track. So how many tracks are you committing to finish? How many ideas are you going to generate? This is like your impact goal to get releases or to get a portfolio or something like that. This is going to be top of mind. Creating stuff is what gets results. How many label submissions are you going to make? To where or to what level? Or if you're going to pitch something to someone, how many pitches are you going to make and to who? These are binary, either I did it or I didn't, right? What research are you going to do and how? So Ruben talking about researching stuff, figuring stuff out. What precisely are you going to do and how are you going to do it? If you're asking someone, who are you going to ask? Particularly if it's someone you're scared of asking, get that down straight away. What resources are you going to acquire and where? So maybe you were talking in the groups yesterday, or maybe you already had some stuff written down about things to buy or things to watch. Maybe it's a course, maybe it's something you want to learn. Maybe it's someone you're going to work with. Maybe it's a piece of software that someone said, God, no, this thing just does it. You know, just click the good button and you're laughing. What resources are you going to create and how? So maybe this came up for you. So one of the things that crops up for me a lot is if I'm doing something, for example, in Ableton, in my weapon of choice, is a way to get stuff done faster. Maybe you're going to create drum racks, drum kits, or maybe you're going to create a list of favorites in a piece of software like Omnisphere or something, If I just had these 5 pad sounds, it'd save me hours keep pissing around with pad sounds. A really interesting conversation with Mark about this, Mr. Mark Allen. I think this was in year 1. And Mark discovered that he needed, I think, 5 pad sounds, and that was all he pretty much needed because he could tweak any one of those 5 to something that he wanted it to be. Maybe he's got 7 now. I don't know. But it turns out you don't need 3 now. Beautiful. There you go. Turns out you don't need that much stuff to get results. So maybe when we were looking at that pyramid and we were talking about, feel like I need to get a lot of stuff done, what might be in the way? So what resources you're going to create and how? How many hours are you going to practice a new skill and how? If there's something you've identified, and when I say a skill, you might immediately think of music production, but maybe this is networking. Maybe this is talking to people. Fun story. I used to work with a guy when I worked in corporate, young lad, who decided that his people skills needed brushing up, and he decided that every day when he went out to buy a sandwich, he would talk to 2 random people. 4 random people at the beginning, at least, when his people skills weren't great. He just started random conversations just to get his confidence up. Worked wonders for him, though. Might seem, you know, in London, that might seem a bit of a mad thing to do where everyone's looking at their shoes, but he went for it. Fair play to him. Who are you going to contact and how? So really good question is who can help? We've talked about this. Talked about people on Patreon. We talked about members of this group. You've got their superpowers. You know, people you might just be asking advice for. You know, I was at this conference a few months back, and this lady went up to the front and she knew nothing about property development. It was something she was really interested in getting into. And the coach at the front was like, okay, so what's the first step? Well, I really need to talk to someone. Well, who could you talk to? Well, I could talk to a property development firm. Okay, great. Get your phone out, run a search, property development firms. Who's at the top? This company. Okay, give me your phone. Boom. He punched in the number. My boss used to do this to me. There you go. Put it on loudspeaker. We're all going to listen. Room of 200 people listening to her have this awkward conversation. She was like all flustered all over the place. Outcome? Someone agreed to get on a call with her and help her from a big property development firm, not to give her a job, but just to talk her through the first steps. People are generally really nice. You know, you're all really nice people. So why might you expect that other people aren't really nice people? Weird, isn't it? We do it though. So who are you going to contact and how? What habits are you committing to start or to stop? I know this list might be getting quite long at the moment. That's cool. But when you did the Mount Everest, there were things you said you'd let go of. There were habits you maybe said you were going to start. Maybe there's a morning routine, getting your monkey ass out of bed in the morning. You're not doing that at the moment. Maybe it's something late at night. Maybe it's something you think is going to create friction with your better half. Who knows? Could be any of those things. But what are you committing to start? Now listen to this next one. What scares you the most that isn't on your list yet? Get it on there now. What are you going to, I can't do that in this 2 weeks. Can't speak to that person. Can't send this to that label. Can't do this thing. I tell you now, it involves someone else. What scares you the most that you haven't put on this list? It probably involves the possibility of rejection. Nearly always does. Picking up the phone, talking to someone, reaching out to someone, sending someone your art, asking someone to collaborate, messaging someone somewhere. It's nearly always related to that. What scares you the most that isn't on your list yet? Reaching out to one of these horrible folks on here. Look at them. What an aggressive bunch. Look at them faces. Look at them. Look at that Lee Huddleston. Terrifying. I want to reach out to him, would you? That big grin on his face. Look. All right. Beautiful. So here's the question. It's real simple. Looking at that list in front of you and considering 2 weeks starting from tomorrow, so a full 14 days starting from tomorrow, and thinking about the other commitments in your life, some that you might be prepared to move, some that are hardwired in, some are things that are just non-negotiable. And maybe even examine what really is non-negotiable. Sometimes we've committed to things and we can pick up a phone and ask to move it back. But this is a serious list now. This is really the very first 2 weeks of your FMM Plus experience and really making the most of it for yourself. So looking at that list and thinking about your commitments for the next 2 weeks, what is your level of commitment out of 10 to absolutely unquestionably having this done. Now, this is no joke. Really, it's not. This is a matter of integrity. This is being a person of your word. And if you are not a person of your word now in this, then you will not be a person of your word in something else. And your word is the most powerful thing you have. I will give you more training on this, but trust me, it's the most powerful thing you've got. Your word creates your universe. As it is said, so it's done. You say you're going to do something and you do it, you change your universe. You change other people's universe. Your word's the most powerful thing you've got. Think of people you know are a flake, who don't do what they say they're going to do. Maybe that's you at the moment. Think about the response you get, the reaction. Think about how you feel about people who say they're going to do something and they don't do it. Do you trust them? Think about that. Do you trust people who tell you they're going to do something and they don't do it? Okay. No, you don't. Exactly. So now, do you trust yourself if you say you're going to do something and you don't? So if you don't even trust yourself to do things, then you'll never take lists like this seriously and you'll never get the results you want in your life. It's a fact. So looking at that list, what's your level of commitment out of 10 to absolutely having it done? If it's a 7 or an 8, that's fine. That's fine right now. If it's a 10, congratulations. But if it's a 7 or an 8 and you look at that list and you say, I doubt I'm going to get all of that done. If I give it everything I've got, I don't think I'm going to get it done. That's fine. So out of 10, level of commitment to definitely, absolutely having it done. Life or death, chop off fingers if I don't get it done type deal. If it's anything less than a 10, look down the list and remove one thing from it that is the least scary item. The thing that you're most comfortable getting done, get rid of it. If there's something there that you know in your heart is just there making up the numbers, take it off. If you don't feel that way about anything, then take off the thing that you feel is least likely, is, going to have the least impact you suspect on you achieving your 90-day goals. Same question. Level of commitment out of 10 to absolutely having this list done in 2 weeks' time. Now, just to give you a little bit of insight into this, I'm going to be putting you in teams working on this 2-week sprint together. So this is not just a commitment to yourself, which is the most powerful part about it, but for some people, it's scarier to make this commitment to other people. What's your level of commitment out of 10? Is anyone at the moment rocking a list where their level of commitment is not a 10 out of 10? Put a mitt up if that's you. Okay, Dave, same deal. Take one thing off the list. Is that how you want to speak, Dave? Okay, go, speak away. Or don't. Just turn your camera off.
Oh, sorry. I am here. So I am a 10, always a 10. But I think the answer is going to be yes. But when we look at the list and we think about it, are we supposed to feel uncomfortable and anxious and kind of like, okay.
Definitely.
I am kind of looking at it and going, like,
yeah, good.
Basically.
Yeah. So that's it. It's like, I'm uncomfortable with this. This is a lot, but I will run through walls to get this done. I am going to do it. I will find a way and I will do it. It's that.
Okay.
Basically. But yeah, I want you to be uncomfortable. That's why this is a dreaded experience for most, and we'll do it every quarter. So for a lot of people, they're like, ooh. But that's the point, because imagine how you'll feel if you get this list done. Let me rephrase my language. That was poor. Imagine how you'll feel when you get this list done. and you're
Mhm.
like, "Woo, just blowing this shit out the water ahead of the goal." And it's like Parky said, you know, you're likely to feel a bit drained after this. Now it's going to be a day off down the massage parlor, and then back on it again, but not at this level.
Yes.
I'm not requesting that anyone maintains this level for the entire year. This is front loading. We're getting in front of this. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to achieve a lot.
And it's water, darling, not water.
I'm sorry. Did I say water? Am I getting all Texan, y'all? Eric, what do you got, buddy? How can I help?
So a lot of the questions that you asked, I need to answer, but I don't necessarily have the answer right now to put on lists. So what do I do? Like, you know, what am I going to research? Well, I know what I got to research, but I don't know what resources are available to me yet. So how do I add those to my list to get them done? If that makes sense.
Beautiful. Really good question. So you obviously will go, okay, I'm looking at this going, I think it's going to take this long to research and to figure this stuff out. Whatever the answer is, whatever the most challenging, most difficult thing is, I'm going to put this amount of time to definitely getting it done. So make it a time-based thing. Go, okay, I don't quite know what this is, but no matter what comes out the other side of this, whether it terrifies the shit out of me or not, I'm going to pick the scariest, hardest, most difficult thing that's going to move the needle the most, and I'll put this much time to getting it done unquestionably.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. Sarah B.
Can I start mine on Monday? Do we have to start them tomorrow?
You do, because you're going to be in teams. So if you've got a bunch of commitments, then just make it less.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, you can make it less for now and then have your own little, like, but 3 days after that or 4 days after or whatever it is, I'm gonna go hell for leather type thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can add that on, but for the purposes of this 2-week container, because I'm going to put everyone in teams who want a definite end date all at exactly the same time for our official sprint. But if there's a Sarah B extra 5 days getting bolted on, I'm having it sprint, more power to you, and absolutely, you know, commit to that in the community like we always do, so that the group can cheer you on and hold you accountable. Dave, what you got? 2 hands up this time. He's taking no prisoners.
So one of my activities is about creating daily content, right? Do I front load that for the entire 90 days, or just take some time to do as much as I can fit in amongst everything else?
I think I understand. So the thing with daily content is that it doesn't have to be made on the day that the content's going out, right? So we tend to, what we do and what most people do is we batch this stuff. So it could be that you're going to say, in order to get ahead of this, I'll do 3 weeks worth in 2 weeks, and then I've got a week's worth just ready to post. Whatever feels to you like it's, you know, it's going to be a push for you. It might be that you go, I'm going to maintain that daily because I'm pushing harder somewhere else.
Okay.
That's a balance for you to strike now as to what you think's going to, because a lot of the time what moves the needle the most is like talking to other people or putting, you know, getting some kind of plan or something in place early doors straight away rather than what's just going to tick over. So it may be that you
makes sense.
Talk to someone on the day, or you're going to create some of it and get some feedback on it, or whatever it is that you feel is lighting the touch paper in all the areas that will get you the most progress. Make sense?
Thank you. Yes.
Perfect. All righty. Is anyone sitting here without a 10 out of 10? I'm getting this done, and I will murder people if it takes it. Not that really, but you know, I'm prepared to run through people for this. in the nicest possible way. Get out of it. That kind of running through them, not head down American football, take your head off running through them type thing. Okay, beautiful. So you have your lists. So here's how we're going to be doing things. I would like to put you in teams. We don't normally do this, but I'd like to put you in teams for this. And these are teams where you're working together to help each other get it over the line. The objective of the team is that everyone has everything done in 2 weeks. So it's very much about supporting, helping, and so on and so forth. I'd like 3 teams. I'd like 3 team leaders who I've already got written down. So I'm going to see if you're up for it now, which is Mr. Lee Huddleston, Mr. Mark Allen, and Andreas. Are you up for being team leaders? Thumbs up. Okay, beautiful stuff. So, gentlemen, can you write down these names? Because I've already formed the teams. As much as I would love to do one of those playground things where you go around picking and someone's terrified of being last, I'm not that kind of human. So I've already scribbled this down. So, Andreas, can you please write down your team is yourself, Parky, Ruben, Arena, and Jaime.
And the last one?
Okay. It may look to you like Jamie, but that's not how it's pronounced. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, no, that was perfect.
James. Okay.
Perfect. There we go. So that's your team. Mark, please write down Carol, Simon, Anne, and Justin. And the Mighty Hugs, Sarah, Eric, Dave, and Mark S. Perfect. So these are your teams. So here's how this is.
We're missing Anne.
No, we're not. Anne's with Mark.
Oh.
But it was a very valiant effort of you to derail my my plan. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to arrange a Zoom meeting, with your team. As best you can, as soon as you possibly can. And the purpose of it is for you to devise a strategy and a plan of how you're going to support one another. How can you best feel that you can do that as a group? Bearing in mind that the goal is that everyone in the team completes everything in their list by the end of the 2 weeks. And what I would also like you to do, please, is collect from everyone in your team what their 2 week sprint is and make a post in the community with what the everyone's 2 week sprint is. Or if you prefer, you could just make a post and ask them to comment under it with their 2 week sprint, maybe easier. But I recommend that you have a conversation on Zoom before you do it and come up with your strategy. So we're basically going to end up with 3 posts. Team Bula, Team Hugs, and Team Allen, with what everyone's commitment is. And you could embellish it with a beautiful photo. Maybe it'll be a screen grab of your Zoom meeting. Or maybe like The Apprentice, you're going to call yourself something, The Wizards, whatever, I don't know. Maybe I've gone too far now, but the point is we want everybody in the community to know exactly what you got going on. And remember that this is a group of helping each other. So this isn't, I'm not setting you up as, some sort of competitive edge here, although you may have that. The goal is just really simple: to support one another to get everything on that list over the line. And to run through walls for one another to get everything over the line. Any questions about that, team leaders? It's like these things, you see these shows on TV where you've got some hermits out in the wilderness and they're given a ginormous log and they've got to get all 5 of them and the log across the river with a really strong current. It's that kind of thing, basically. That's the idea behind it. And just for everyone else, you are not relying on your team leaders here, other than them arranging the Zoom call and making the post. Everyone in the team is equally as responsible for everyone else in the team. This, again, is a matter of integrity. And just to be clear, integrity isn't about morals. It isn't about right or wrong. Integrity simply means that something is perfect, whole, complete. That's to say that everybody got everything over the line in 2 weeks. And so when you think of it like that, you're operating at a group level. Group integrity means that you're all going to go out of your way to keep checking in with each other. What's going on? How can I help? You know, where are you struggling? What walls are you hitting? I need help here, please. I'm falling behind a little bit. Can you help me? You're as responsible for asking for help for yourself as you are for helping other people. And then the way that this will roll is at the end of the 2-week sprint, which is going to be 2 weeks tomorrow. Group leaders, just please either post the update yourself or encourage everybody to post in the thread with how they got on with their list. All make sense? Any questions? Ah, beautiful. How exciting. You know, good thing to do here might be that in that thread as well, you could put the result, you know, what sort of strategy you're following in that thread could be useful for the other groups, right? Ultimately, we'd love for everyone to get everything over the line. That would just be absolutely phenomenal. So as I said, it's not a competition. You know, sending a scary email from an anonymous address to the team captain of the other team, trying to put them off their game. I'm not looking for that, as humorous as it might be. Okay, brilliant. Any questions? Are we good to move on? I want to talk about the kind of maintenance thing that we can work on. And what could be useful here, Anna, is if you could share your screen and do a Zoom whiteboard just to scribble some stuff down on this just whilst I'm talking about it, so everyone's got a visual rather than it just be me talking. I would do it myself if I was even vaguely capable of operating the whiteboard. Might put it in my own 2-week sprint. Okay, so I just wanted to have a little bit of a talk about this. We've kind of covered it quite a lot already. So after the 2-week sprint, you'll obviously be, you know, out in the wild on your own, free range mastermind members, with your goals. Of course, you're not on your own. We're always here to help, but on a day-to-day basis, you're looking at how do I give myself the best possible opportunity of hitting the 90-day goals. And I have some thoughts on this of how I operate and operate in the world when I'm trying to achieve this stuff myself. Now, when you do the Mount Everest, something comes up, and if you can just scribble this down, Anna, Mount Everest. Perfect. And then in brackets, please, put the word desire, comma, clarity, comma, belief. Close brackets. Perfect. Thank you. So this is what happens. Sorry, I've got a noisy devil outside. I'll quickly shut the window. Okay. So at the beginning of the Mount Everest and at the end, these are the questions that are posed. There are 4 questions. The first one is, what is your level of desire to get the outcome that you want? The second question is, what is your level of clarity on the path to get there? The third question is, what is your level of belief that you will achieve the outcome? You don't need these, Anna, but you can put them in if you want. And the fourth one is, what is your level of belief in your capability to get there? So the questions that get asked, and you rate it out of 10, is your level of desire for the outcome, clarity on the path, belief in your own capabilities, and belief that you'll get the outcome, right? Now, when you do the Mount Everest, it's an incredibly powerful technique because you operate from the place of it already being done and you map out the path. And when it's already done, what is there to fear? So our level of belief and everything goes up and we're full of energy to get it done and we've got a plan and all of that good stuff. It's an incredibly powerful technique. I use it for everything we do. I've just used it for our goal setting for the business. I use it for my personal goals. And again, I can deliver like a full piece of training on this for you guys and girls.
What was the third one, Keith?
Level of belief that you'll get the outcome. So that's to say, in our case, the 90-day goals. Now, what happens is as we get started and you'll come out the 2-week sprint and you've got all this structure and it's all working well and everything's wonderful, is that as we go towards any goal, there are like peaks and dips, things go in the favor of the goal, things go out of the favor, stuff happens in life, circumstances happen. And these scores, even though you're not keeping them in your head, they may start to go down or they'll peak or they'll do something weird along the way. So I'm always interested in, when I'm shooting for the goal and when my team is shooting for goals, is how do we get these, you know, at the top? How do I make sure that level of desire to get the outcome, that shit's got to be 10 out of 10 all the time. That's non-negotiable. So how do I keep that there? But then the clarity on the path to get there, like, well, I don't know for sure all the time. That's clear. However, I always want that to be a 7 or above. Level of belief in the outcome, 8 or above, probably. Belief in your capability to get there, 8 or above. Basically, what I'm saying is this stuff, I want this to be in the top quartile all the time. That's in your control. How? Well, here's how I do this, okay? On a daily basis, I'm in connection with my vision. So this is the really important stuff, Anna, please. Daily basis, connect with your vision, not the goals. Not the goals. I'll tell you why in a minute. The vision. Like, this is the thing that you really want in your life. That's what a vision is. If I got all the lucky breaks, if everything went my way, if life panned out how I wanted it to be, I had what I want to have, I'm doing what I want to do with the people I want to do it with, and I'm being the person I want to be. I'm behaving, acting, I've got the skills, all of that stuff. I mean, this is like the guiding light, right? I said yesterday, this is, once you've got this, every other decision you make, start here. Start with this thing. So number one, it's madness to just leave it sitting on the pile and forget about it, which a lot of people do. They go, I've set this grand idea and then I'll completely forget about it. No, get in touch with it every day. This is my best advice to you. Be in touch with it every day and be in touch with it with unwavering faith that this is going to happen. The universe will provide this. That unquestionably I'm getting this. I have absolute certainty. My success is inevitable. The universe will show me the path to get there. Or if you're, you know, if you have a God or whatever it might be, you know, whatever is the greater power in your world. And if you're a real sciencey person and the greater power is your subconscious mind, that's cool too. Like, the path will be revealed to me every single day. You do that with that level of self-talk, and the way you talk to yourself is absolutely everything. Self-defeating talk defeats the self. Is on you. This is your choice. This is scientifically proven. The way you talk to yourself determines what's possible for you. This is science. This isn't just woo-woo. You know, we talked about all these successful people and their level of optimism. It's through the roof. Doesn't mean they're not pessimistic sometimes when it calls for it. Maybe they're assessing a decision and it's good to bring some pessimism in. Like, well, that might not work. Okay, let's figure that stuff out. And then we'll pick the path we're going to take and we'll be damn well optimistic. We're going to do it. It's on you. So daily basis, connect to the vision. Goals, yearly 90-day goals, up to you. I think in this circumstances, every 2 weeks works. For some people, they prefer every week. In the business, we do it every week, Anna and I. Why? There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of individuals at play, you know? So there's a lot going on and we want to touch base with it every week and see where we're at. But for you, it could be every fortnight. So 90-day goals and year goals, fortnightly or weekly. Only time to have a look. No need to look at them another time. Why? Well, put it like this. Most of you, I suspect, and I can't see everyone's face, so I won't ask for a show of hands, but most of you have probably done something like trying to lose weight at some point in your life, maybe been on a diet or trying to get some goal like that. And I'll use the weight loss because it's a classic. What a lot of people do is they go, right, this is my weight target. And then they get on the scales every single morning. There's so much at play in the human body. How much you drank yesterday is at play. What you're wearing potentially is at play. What your hormones are doing are at play. There's just so much that goes on maybe in the first couple of weeks, like the weight falls off. And then this thing, like it fluctuates. Like, oh my God, I'm 0.5 over where I was yesterday. And what you're getting basically is a bunch of anomalies and things that are happening. And on the creative journey, some days you turn up and it goes really well. And some days it feels like it's horrendous. That's creativity for you. And that's at the root of what everybody's doing here. So monitoring this stuff on a day, oh no, today was a catastrophe. We end up making knee-jerk reactions. We just start doing like all this random stuff, worrying about things we don't need to worry about. But over the period of a couple of weeks, and if every week you set a sprint, or if you prefer to do it weekly, and I don't mean like our official, you know, balls to the wall for want of a better term. I don't mean that kind of thing, but like, well, this is the plan for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, okay, where am I at in terms of the goal? So not daily, right? So where are you at? And this is a really simple thing. Like, where am I at in terms of what I wanted to get done? Like in terms of my projects, I'm a bit behind. Okay, no problem. Now we get into asking outcome-based questions. How can I get the same amount of stuff done in less time? What would be a more efficient strategy? Who can I ask? Who can help? Remember, questions unlock the subconscious. It has to answer. I mean, you try it. You try asking yourself something and expect that bugger not to come up with an answer at some point. It's damn well gonna, or it's going to spot something along the way. So when you think about it, at the moment, we've got vision that maintains desire. Goals, in combination with outcome-based questions, maintain the path. And then the final piece of the puzzle here is optimism. Now, optimism is a skill. Really it is. Some people right now maybe default, and it's a sliding scale as well, right? You're not either I'm this or I'm that, but it's a sliding scale. And some people, based on all of your upbringing and all of your environment and everything that's got you to this point, may default more to pessimism, and some people may default more to optimism. And that's okay. It's not right or wrong. Remember, both of these have a lot of value. But in these moments on the day-to-day, where you're not analyzing what am I going to do next, operating from a place of optimism is really important. And that comes down to your self-talk. And it's really, this is an always-on monitoring system to spot how this works. And there are 3 ways that we talk to ourselves on this: personal, pervasive, and permanent. Personal, pervasive, permanent. So if something goes on that doesn't work in your favor, the pessimist in that moment will make it all about them, affecting every aspect of their life forever. Permanent, forever, pervasive, every aspect of their life, personal, my fault. The optimist, when these things happen, instead will be, okay, that's just happened. We've just lost your screen share, Anna. Was that on purpose? It was. Okay. The optimist, however, will be like, oh, this is a blip in the road, not permanent. It's only this situation and I can find a way. And it's not my fault. This isn't me. I'm not flawed in some way. Maybe it is my fault, but I'm not flawed. This isn't inherent to who I am as a human being. And if you keep those things written down, and when you hit a wall and you feel you're getting a bit negative and down about things, and you're being a bit pessimistic, just look for that way of thinking and reverse it out. You do that stuff, have that optimism, and you get belief in your capabilities, belief that you're going to get to the outcome. Like I said, Richard Branson, like, I can't, it's just not a thing. I can't. Person, pervasive, I can't. Everything, can't. Permanent, I can't. It's such a powerful thing, right? It covers all of those boxes. I can and I will. That's how this dude operates in the world. I can and I will. There is a way and I will find it, or the universe will deliver it to me. If you do those three things, it will maintain your desire, your clarity, and your belief levels. Optimism, always on. And you can do that every day when you're doing your, when things are coming up for you. Put a point in the day if you want to self-coach yourself a little bit. Vision every day for me, non-negotiable. Goals, we check in, we have a weekly meeting, Anna and I, for it. But that, that's obviously, I'm talking from our business and our life is intertwined. I said that yesterday, they're not separate entities. So we sit down and we look at it. And it's like, that thing happened that's in our favor. We're ahead. We could shoot for more. This thing happened out in the market, or this external circumstance. How are we going to react? That didn't work out too well. That thing bummed. Okay, that just happened. The goal's not changing. We don't move in the goal. The goal's fixed for us. How can we still get there? How are we going to do that? And like I said, Andreas is like a master of this stuff as well. Andreas had a whole bunch of blips and mad stuff and some twins rock up in his life. And he was like jumping on a call going, right, change of strategy. This thing just happened. I thought they would scream 23 hours a day. They're screaming 24 hours a day. He was coming on, bless him, all bleary-eyed, looked like he'd come out of a war zone most days. But no, there's a way. I'm going to figure this out. It was impressive, I've got to say. I was very impressed. But that's like, that is a choice. And it's all right if you lean more towards pessimism at the moment. It's fine. It's a skill. It really is. The more you think in an optimistic way and spot those patterns and change them, the more you'll think in an optimistic way. And then you catch yourself and you go, hang on a minute, let's just sit down. And I always say to Anna, I'm going to have a word with myself. I'm going to have a little bit of a sit down here and a bit of a chat, because I can see I'm being pessimistic about this. I've got, no, the world's against me. Hang on a minute there. Let's go and have a word with myself and figure that out. Any questions about that, guys and girls? God, this is fire. Right, let's take a break then. We'll take a break, and then I think it's going to be a real short, punchy second half, because I'm just going to tell you all about the feedback, or the music hot seats is a better way to put it, not feedback, music hot seats, and then we are done. We're good to go. Rock stars. So let's do 15 minutes. So let's say, again, 40 past the hour. Perfect timing. See you in a second.
Anna, are you still there?
I am.
Hey, what's your mate? So Anne is in my group, but she's not here.
Yes.
So, which is fine. I've set up the Facebook group, chat group. So obviously I want to direct her to watch the appropriate part of the replay to get up to speed ideally. When will it be up?
It'll be up in the early hours of the morning UK time. So Seth will do it tonight. Katrina will come in at about 3 o'clock in the morning my time. So 9 a.m. UK. So it should be up by 10 a.m. UK.
And where is Anne based? Do you remember?
Anne is in the US. I believe it's New York. It's in the East Coast.
New York or Chicago?
I
think it might be. Now you say that, thinking back to. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. That's absolutely perfect. I will say, let's go for the same time tomorrow as this call, or somewhere close to it, and then she'll have time to catch up.
Right.
And I'll say she can always reach out, right, to me or to you if she wants to kind of find the relevant replay or whatever, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect.
Thanks, Anna.
What I'll do as well is I'll timestamp. I'll make sure it's timestamped so that it's, that section is there underneath it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Anna.
No worries.
Back in the room.
Yeah, I felt sorry a bit, David, that I didn't compliment you on the track again yesterday because we were in the same group. I was like, after the session, I was like, oh yeah, that was David. Oh man. But
The beard is a good disguise.
yeah, but I recognize you. That was the strange thing. There was just, it was so disconnected from the members event for some reason. But it was difficult to describe how awesome I thought the track was. It was like back to the memory lane, and yeah, I had a blast. So yeah, great job.
Oh,
Are you
thanks
making
so
more
much,
of that
man.
music or not, David? Is it your style?
If it comes to me, then yeah, sure. It's just about sort of being in the frame of mind. So the track that it's a remix of is very much in the vein of like late 90s, early noughties crossover. So it just seemed to make sense to do it.
Yeah. Well, I should take every song of that band and remix it.
I
Make
know
an
he's
album out.
he's a real pop artist. So he's quite sort of he's like London pop, hip hop, rock kind of guy. So it's quite a spread. Some of his other stuff is kind of quite outside. It's very R&B pop as well. So it's not really my cup of tea, but that sort of stuff is very much my cup of tea. It reminded me of one of my favorite bands called Censor,
Yeah.
they were, you know, they were big back in the mid 90s. They're still going, kind of. But yeah, so I just had to go down that route. And I love, you know, that mid 90s kind of Prodigy Censor period. It's kind of when I kind of started to pay attention to music, I guess, in earnest. And so I'm kind of now, it's very much dad rock era. And that's where I'm kind of like sitting in, really.
Yeah. Well, you can't go wrong with Sensor.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Keith, what was the name of that tool you used to use for blocking your internet?
No idea.
I don't remember.
No, that's not useful, but no, I don't. I don't have it on the laptop either. It was on the Mac Pro on the cheese grater that got sold before we left.
Yes.
There was a zillion of them. Like,
when I put in like how to block my internet, a load of like parental control things come up, and then weird things come up when I search that type of stuff. So like I've got something on my machine called Time Camp, which measures how much time you spend in each application, and then it gives you a report at the end, which is pretty useful. Although this is my work machine and my studio machine, so it's pretty random. But yeah, the internet is a just ever-present distraction.
Well, here's how I here's a thing that I did do, and I can't remember the name of the software, but the internet blocking I just found to be a pain in the bum, because a lot of what I'm doing is creating stuff here, and I'm like, oh, I just need to get some inspiration here or a connection there, and I was like, oh bloody hell, now I've got to turn my computer off and on again because this thing's blocked me out for 4 hours. So what I found to be more effective was to lean into my habits, and there's a piece of software, I can't remember what it's called, it's probably an app, and it basically allows you to set up redirects in your browser. So when we go on the internet, we have, for me, and I'm sure it's the same for most, you habitually have sites that you go to, and it's almost like I would sit down, I don't anymore, but I would sit down and I was always checking what's going on with Liverpool FC. And so I would sit down, type LIV, and then that would be enough for the address bar to fill out, hit enter, and there I am. And so I would go into the studio to do some work, and then like 10 minutes later, I'm reading about Liverpool Football Club, which was insane. So then what I did was use this piece of software that set up the redirect. And so every time I sat down and I put LIV and hit enter in, it went like to, for example, to time tracking software or to my to-do list or something like that. And so I use a piece of software called Tick, which is an app. I don't know if it's for anything other than Mac, but it has an online as well as a downloadable thing. And so I would just put anything that was a distraction site, it would just automatically take me there to my actual to-do list. And so that put paid to that. I didn't have to rewire my habit. My bad habit immediately became a good habit. So I can't remember what the software is though, that I was using, but if you put like internet, I don't know what you would put, search.
So no, I found it. It's so I found the app. It's in the it was in the
App Store.
Time Space Oasis video in Ignite. So the app is called Rescue Time.
That was it. That was the blocking app, right?
Yeah, it blocks websites.
Yeah, I can set the redirects up manually. That's fairly easy,
right?
To do. So I guess I could do that. The problem with that is I know how to undo it very easily as well.
Yes, however, that requires a conscious.
That's true.
Like thing to do it, whereas habits are like instinctual. So yes, that was how I found a good way to do it. And then other kind of hacks, like YouTube is often a weakness for people, is on YouTube, when you go to the homepage, it obviously will feed you as much crap as it possibly can. If you dare to look at something that's even vaguely controversial, at some point you'll get lots of that. You'll just get stuff that will keep you there. So every thumbnail of a video that comes up there, before you click on the video, there are 3 dots next to it. And if you click on those, it says, don't show me this video again. And then when you click on that, it will give you 2 options. I'm not interested in this, or I've already seen this video before, and you click I'm not interested in it. It literally is a 10-minute exercise at most of just going down that, not interested, not interested, not interested, hit the home button, videos come up, not interested, not interested, and ultimately it just completely cleanses it of all the stuff you don't want in there. So when I go on my YouTube homepage now, it's pretty much predominantly DJ sets and music, or something to do with personal development or productivity. There is nothing else there. I would have to actively go and search for some bullshit, which I'm not interested in. It just catches your eye, right? It's like, hey, here's something with a catchy title that millions of people have fallen into, and yeah, you are going to too. So I just make sure that that's removed from the possibilities of my what is it? I can't remember that quote. It's so good. I think it's something like protect the factory of your mind. Something along those lines. Like, you know, your mind is going to output based on what you put in at the front end of it. So stopping that from being the very stuff that creates issues and problems is a fairly good practice. Alrighty. So Mrs. M had a pretty fantastic idea that would have gone completely over my head with my way of thinking, which is to quickly put the teams here into breakout rooms so that you can do whatever organizing you need to do. Because Anna said the chat was lit up with, you know, various email addresses and when are you free and all of that stuff, which could be a bit disorganized. So we can obviously make your lives considerably easier by just putting you in the groups now, and you can figure out when and how and where you want to meet and have a bit of it. Yes, I know. So someone who was smart would have thought that for themselves, wouldn't they? But credit where it's due, it was Anna. So would you like to just breakout room the gang, please, so that the team leaders can more efficiently herd the Herberts?
Do you want to give me your co-host access, please, Keith?
Under their control. Of course I do. Absolutely love to hand over responsibility. There we go. Got it? Beautiful.
How long are you going to give us?
How long do you need? 5 minutes?
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Lee wants
any
10.
advances on that? No, five.
No,
Five's
no more
probably
than
fine.
10. Certainly 5 should be fine.
Okay, let's go with 5 then. Efficiency.
Mark's already putting the heat on you two.
I will close the rooms in 10 minutes, but just come back in 5 if you're done. And if we're all back in time in 5, then we're all back in 5. How does that sound?
I bet we're back before you, Lee.
It's not a competition. Oh, it is, isn't it? It is a competition.
Wait a minute, or is it better to be back after you?
Yeah,
Because that means we're doing more. Oh, God, I don't even know anymore.
Oh, that's a reframe. Isn't it? Yeah. Whoever comes back last has been the most thorough.
Okay. Well, I'll close the rooms. What I'll do is I'll close the rooms automatically at 10 minutes. But if you guys are back earlier, then you're back earlier and we can crack on.
Good scheme.
Off you go.
Would you, what's it best to do? Just pause the recording, I suppose. Otherwise, it's just us sitting here for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. What are your thoughts?
Just keep the recording.
Okay, can you make a note then, please, for Seth to cut it out so it's not bump in the middle for the guys, please. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to finish what I was doing over here, then I'll this window of opportunity.
Yeah, we beat them all.
Yeah. That's impressive. That's German efficiency, no doubt, isn't it?
I would have changed to have a snooze when they get that.
Where's the other member of your group?
Maybe they accidentally left the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, so here we go. Back to integrity. If it's not whole, complete, and perfect, then, then you're not all back, I'm afraid. Yeah, here's Ruben. Is it Ruben?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's your success is on whether I press the button, right? What are you going to pay me? What's in this for me?
Be devastated if Lee turns back up.
Make Ruben the host on tomorrow's session, so he will cancel the whole session.
There we go. I like that. I like the ad from Ruben. When you're waiting,
wow,
you get an ad. I like that.
Never miss an opportunity.
Yeah, he should have that amazing photo that we've grabbed off of him for the masterclass, looking all dapper. Sorry.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a good. That's a good way of doing it. By my training here, I will deliberately have my camera off for the first 30 seconds of every meeting I attend. I was just trying to sort out my camera.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
That like turning up to a Zoom meeting with dressed as a cat. I can't turn it off. So over all the lockdown stuff, there's loads of videos like that, isn't there?
Oh my gosh, excellent.
Filter you can't get rid of.
Oh, I've killed Zoom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the background it's running, but it's
I
can't really close the preferences. Okay.
I always get kicked
I've-
out, but not actually kicked out.
Do you need to go back, Andreas?
I think I will have a try. It's still running, but it's freezed in the main window, but we will see. Let's see.
Did you sell your SM9s, Andreas? Because I can't see them in the picture.
Look at
Ah,
that.
there they are.
Yeah.
We all got them then, have we?
Build a mixing desk over there. So yeah, just
We need to sell
them.
our SM9s.
Yeah, won't sell them.
My
No.
I will have another go. It's so weird how, like, you can, speaking for myself, can do something over and over and over and over again for years and then be like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been so daft. My speaker stands, they're like really heavy. They're like 35 kilos or something horrible, and they've got spikes on the bottom of them that you sort of screw and adjust. And so whenever I've been testing where the monitors best are, like the SM9s are 30 something kilograms as well. So you have to lift this damn heavy monitor off, then move this thing by a couple of inches, trying not to stab yourself in the feet, and then put the monitor back on, set it up, test it. And so it's kind of like, oh, I didn't quite get it working here. And I'm like, oh, I just can't be bothered with this anymore. And then the other day I thought, why don't I just take the spikes off the stands and I can just slide them around on the carpet? And it was just like, oh my God, that like, what is wrong with me? And then obviously once I've got the positioning, just put the spikes back on the stands. I've been doing that for years. I don't know quite why I'm admitting that to you lot. Maybe it's cathartic. Perhaps I needed to get it off my chest in a small group before everyone comes back.
Well, your loss is my gain. I'm about to go through all that, moving all the stuff down the bottom of the garden. So,
yes, you're moving. Right, yeah, wow. It really is a thing, isn't it, moving them around? And they're I find them quite difficult to position because of their horizontal orientation. So they're a bit of a nuisance. Like, oh, this particular driver's now gone into some spot that it's not supposed to be in. And, happy days.
They are heavy, aren't they? For a lump.
When they were first delivered, the poor delivery fella had clearly dropped them down the stairs or done something with them. And so I had to call folk out and say, I'm pretty sure this isn't supposed to be in several bits. Can have some new ones. Yeah, the Focal thing was mad because I was one of the first people in the country to get them. They'd just come out and we decided to do like a shootout, Chris and I. And so we had like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds worth of top-end studio monitors sitting in my studio, and we were testing them. And they were being delivered to me by whoever the head of, marketing or whatever it was for that distribution was for the particular company. So we had like this guy turn up in his Jag with his two SM9s in the back, like carrying them in, helping me set them up and all of this stuff. And for each of the speaker companies, you kind of get treated quite differently when you're about to spend that amount of money on a set of speakers and they know there's other products in the game. And we eventually, we picked them. They're such amazing monitors. And then because I was one of the first people to have them in the country, this guy phoned up, his name Gary, and he was like, oh, we've got the head of Focal Technical in the country. He would like to come and check them out in your studio. I was like, okay, mad. So we had the head of Focal come and checking them out. And it turned out that they'd just been to see Mark Knight, from Tool Room.
Oh, yeah.
And the Chemical Brothers. And who's the techno guy who runs Planetary Assault System? Luke Slater, right?
Luke Slater.
Yeah, him and me. It was just so random. It was like,
the best part for me was that once everything got delivered, and you know how you kind of get like a gift from companies when you buy something. Keith got a mug as a gift.
It was a really nice mug as well, and I'm dead pissed off that it cracked.
Yeah,
it was a very nice mug, but it's like you know, I took the piss out of Keith so much with that, because it's just like, here you go, like you spend however much money, $5,000 or whatever it is on a pair of speakers, and you know, you're a proper mug.
Yeah,
That's what
you're a
I
proper mug. Yeah, we send you a mug. Thank you, Foka.
I tell you, I daydreamed about those speakers after the first visit I had to your studio at your house. Like for a long time, I coveted those speakers.
They are things of beauty. It is true.
And you're now barefoot, Keith?
At the moment, yeah. But like I said, I will give these another shot because I love them, and it would be, you know, talk about adding attachment and meaning to things. I think a little piece of my heart will break if we sell them. They just they are phenomenal studio monitors for sure.
I'd love to put them in the music room that we're talking about. So I want to do like decks. I want to have decks, and because my thing this year is I want to start collecting vinyls. So I'd love to have the SM9s in that room.
It's a bit overkill for a set of DJ monitors in a spare room, isn't it?
This is making me feel a little bit uncomfortable, that is.
Yeah, I know. That can't be a thing. That would be absurd.
No resonance. Yeah.
There we go.
So
you were the last.
Andreas just smashed everyone to pieces of his team. Like no sooner had they gone than they just reappeared. That was like German efficiency at its best.
Was that really 10 minutes? That kind of.
Literally, I kid you not. I said to Anna, should we like pause the recording, because it's, you know, obviously it's going to be on the replay, just us two kind of sitting here, and then Andreas appeared. How has that happened? Amazing. Okay, cool, brilliant. Let's talk a little bit about the music hot seats and how this is going down. So alumni, please pin said Lugol's back. Particularly, you may think you've seen this all before. You most definitely have not. Things are a changing around these here parts. Boom. There we go. So mainly really just put some slides together just for the actual how things operate, which is very similar, bar one important aspect. So we put a submission form up on a Thursday. That's correct, Anna? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So a form goes up on a Thursday. There is no obligation in order to submit a piece of music and have a hot seat. A few people reached out and they were like, gosh, what if I'm not ready, and what have I got to do this every month? No, absolutely not. In fact, it's completely counterintuitive. Most people grab a handful of hot seats, either music or mastermind, throughout the entire year. That's not to say you can't do it every time. You're always very welcome. I don't put any kind of cap on this stuff. However, it's really counterintuitive, because if you're trying to force something, then it isn't authentic, and the coaching and the feedback and the direction and the plan, and you will leave with a plan that you're going to get, is going to take you out of alignment with your goals and what's actually where you really need the help. So these sessions are specifically for music. For other things that are to do with your goals or networking or creative flow or whatever it might be, we have separate sessions for those every single month, kind of like we've been doing here with the coaching on goals. And you can bring anything that isn't, hey, I need you to listen to this piece of music, right? And I think someone is unmuted. If you can just double check and hit the mute button for me, please. So how does it work? A form goes up on the Thursday. It's really self-explanatory, and there'll obviously be, you know, what I'm talking about will appear in the post inside of the community as well, so that it's, you know, this is just an overview now and you'll get to see it again. And that form will require a reference track. No reference track, no uploady. It just won't work. So it will require a reference track, and I'll talk about the why and what we're doing in a second. The cutoff point is Sunday midnight at GMT. There is no, oh, I missed it, I'm really sorry, can I still upload? It doesn't work like that. There are processes, systems, and I look at stuff in advance in the background. So please don't ask, because it just, you know, basically means that somebody in the team has got to say no to you. That's all. So you get an entire, what is that, almost 4 days in which to upload something if you've got it. They're 90-minute sessions and they are first come, first served. We go through them in the order of upload. Unless there is a situation where like somebody needs to reach out and say, you know, I'm really not around, I can only catch this minute, then, you know, I can only sort of be there for the first hour. I'll make exceptions. Otherwise, it is first come, first served. It's a 90-minute session and it has a hard stop. It's the only session that I run that has a hard stop. Normally we go till we go with these sessions. The reason it has a hard stop is the longer we go, the longer we go. What experience has taught us with this is the more we're listening to music, the more fatigued people's ears get, and each hot seat drags out and out and out and out and becomes less and less and less valuable. Now, if we get through the 90-minute session that is in the calendar, and there are still people who've got submissions we haven't got through, we'll do a 90-minute session exactly the same time the next day. The one on the next day is not compulsory, okay? Unless you need our thoughts and coaching on what you're uploading in your hot seat, in which case you need to be there. I strongly recommend being at both, but we didn't put 2 in because I don't want to overwhelm you and burden you. FMN Plus is supposed to be here to support you, not to tie you down with a gazillion things in the calendar. But I really recommend showing up because most people find that they learn more from other people's hot seats than they do from their own. If after the 2 sets of 90 minutes, we've still got some left, then I'll ask you just to post it up in the community and you can tag me and we'll get to work helping you out there. So that's how it works. That's the how, basically. And then the question is, what am I uploading? What's actually going on here? Okay. Your hot seat is one specific challenge that is recurring for you when you are writing music. This is not a, can I just get your ears on this track deal? Okay. This is something that is recurring, that is getting on your wick, that's holding you back from achieving your goals, that is coming up. And if you're like, well, what might that be? Well, that's what you've been doing, right? You've been making 3 playlists of challenges that are recurring for your music and building out reference tracks that exemplify how to, you know, this characteristic of music is what I really would love to achieve. So Parky yesterday was talking about low end. He might have a bunch of reference tracks that are the low end that he wants because there's a gap that he's identified between his low end where it is now and where he wants to be. It could be something to do with, you know, you feel you keep second guessing something in your arrangement, maybe the energy flow, maybe the interest. But these tracks in your reference pile, you don't second guess at all. And they're pieces of music that are not identical copies of what you're trying to create. You don't need to be uploading every aspect of this is what I want every aspect of my music to be. We're focusing on one specific characteristic. So for example, if Simon's writing drum and bass, sure, his examples are going to be drum and bass tracks, but it might sound quite different in respect of this particular characteristic, which is what the reference tracks are that you've been saving up, so that when it comes to uploading the form, you're not going hunting for something you've already identified. This is where I'm struggling, and this thing is a fantastic example of it. Now, if that sounds like there's a bit of heavy lifting there because there are questions, then yes, there is some heavy lifting there. Congratulations, you're in a performance mastermind. This is meant to be pushing you. It's meant to be driving you. That's how it's going to work. So what is the thought process and why is it done like that? And for alumni, why have we changed things up a little bit? Well, it's because of this. In order to get the results you want, you need to do the things that get those results, and that starts with who you are. Now, if we just upload random pieces of music, we can be coaching on anomalies and things that are popping up to make that particular piece of music better. But it's really the old adage, give a person a fish and they eat for a day, teach them how to fish, and they eat for the rest of their life. And I am quite happy for you to go without food for a day in order for me to take you fishing during this call and teach you how to resolve that going forward. So in this case, learning how to fish is building your confidence in that specific area. So what the name of the game is, okay, this is an area that I'm lacking confidence in. By the end of it, we as a group, as a mastermind, want to have given you all of the resources, ideas, ways of approaching this so that you'll go away with a battle plan. And this is why it's best if these things are really aligned with your goal, because you're going to go away with a to-do list. And it's not a to-do list of how to make this one specific track better, although that will happen. It's a to-do list of how to build up your confidence in that area. Now, please note, I'm being very specific with the use of the word confidence. It would be easy for me to say your skills, but actually skills are very often the long game. Skill, I need to learn this, I need to learn that, I need to learn this, that, the other one. They can often take quite a long time to do that. And it may be skills. It may be that. But it could be working with someone else. It could be someone else in the group has got this down. It could be hiring someone. Like, you know, for example, there are certain things that we have natural aptitudes towards and certain things that we don't. So we've already listened to some of your superpowers, like Sarah talking about how she hears pitches easily. That comes naturally to her. To me, that doesn't. To me, I've done like interval training. I spent a bunch of time doing it. The difference between one semitone up and one semitone down, I used to want to chuck my computer out the window trying to figure that out every day. For some of you, you'll be like, what? That's absolute madness. I hear that instantly. But you provide something to do with groove or the arrangement to me, and I've got it. Like, I just totally get it. So we could listen to this and you'd be like, and identify that actually you've really tried to grow this skill, but maybe it's not a natural aptitude. And it's not to say that you might not get past it at some point, but why labor on something that doesn't come naturally to you when maybe there are resources, tools, a way to develop your ear in this particular area that solve it quickly? It's like you could probably, I imagine, go on somewhere like Fiverr, and when you've got a track and you're not sure about the like tuning and stuff that's going on in it, I suspect there's someone on there who for like $10 or $5 would listen to a piece of music and come back with a bunch of suggestions. My gosh, that gets done in 5 minutes versus trying to practice this thing every single day. So what we're doing here is coaching. How do we help you to be the person who can do this thing and get the result that you want in the easiest and most effective way possible? And being is not just skills. It's our way of thinking about the world, the way that our strategies that we employ, our habits. That is what being is. And when we dial that in, then you'll get this thing done. And whether it's a month, whether it's 2 months, whether someone's got a gooderizer plugin, you know, just put this thing on and turn it up, that fixes it. Sometimes it's as easy as that. Sometimes it really is as easy as that. It could get fixed just like that. Or it may be that we listen to it and you're like, this thing is always coming up for me. And we're like, there's really not a problem there. This is great. Unlearning that something isn't an issue is as powerful as resolving an issue that really is there. Because in our heads, it's in the way. And the goal is, let's get it out of the way so that that thing for you is as natural as something you feel confident about in your music. And then you're going to be looking for what's the next thing and what's the next thing. So that's the way that we're going. Now, there are, of course, other types of feedback that are the fish eating for the day. Want some encouragement, want to be cheered on, just made a track that I think is absolutely dynamite. It's amazing. I'd love to get people's ears on it and get a pat on the back with it. That's cool. That's like great for creativity. Maybe I'm stuck on this one track. Maybe I want help moving it forwards creatively, or there's just something about this one that's standing out for me and I want ears on it. Or I'm feeling doubtful about this. It's done, but there's something about it I can't put my finger on, or there's an area of it that's not like this recurring, persistent thing for me that I'd like fixed. And there are other types as well. They're all really, really valuable. That is what you've got the FMM Plus group for. It's what you've got the peer feedback sessions for. It's what you've got the ME for. It's what you've got each other's superpowers for to lean on. So if it falls under that category of it's like more of a one-time thing, then use those resources to get people's ears on it. And of course, if there's an urgency to it, like it's going to a label or there's a particular importance to this and you want my ears on it, then when you post it in the group, tag me. That's the important thing. I ain't going to go listening to a gazillion tracks. I'm going to listen to the ones where you're like, I really need your help right now, Keith. Can you help? Tag me. I'll always be there for you. Does that make sense? If, buts, maybes, questions as to how this thing rolls? Anything about it that's coming up for you? Dave Norman. Dave, you remember to put your magic hand up because it immediately jumps you up to the top where I can see you. Otherwise, I might miss you. As much as I'm always looking for your beautiful face on here, sometimes I'm going to miss it. How can I help, sir?
You can't miss it if I sit underneath the light because it shines off my head. When you say reference track, just to backtrack to that, is that in terms of I want the sonic balance to sound like this, or the energy in the arrangement, as opposed to whatever else? Is it not specifically like an almost cover, but I want my track to have this type of energy throughout it, and I can't quite hit it, but I can hear it in this track, and that's what I
that's it. So you remember the homework was come up with a list of things that are recurring challenges for you in your music. So things ultimately where you're not that confident in pulling them off. Come up with a list, pick your top 3, and then keep listening to music. And I recommend doing this every day. And you're like, so if it is, for example, the energy in your music is something that is a persistent doubt for you, not a one-off, but it's a persistent thing that you view as being a gap, for example, between where you are now and where you want to be, or it's just a constant self-doubt thing that keeps coming up for you, then you will have been picking reference tracks that are like, they've nailed this challenge or this doubt. They've totally got this. If I was confident enough to be able to pull this off, I'd have it. That would be the reference track. So you might be writing a piece of music and go, oh, my old friend, this problem again. Right, this really exemplifies where I'm at the moment. And I've got this host of reference tracks I can pick one from that exemplifies where I want to be in respect of this characteristic. Not in terms of it's a carbon copy of what I'm trying to write, because you'd be there forever trying to match every characteristic. But it's just like, this thing. So, for example, let's say Parky's got a rolling bass line in his track and he's having like, this issue again, can't get the kick and the bass and stuff right. Then in his reference track folder, picking something with a rolling bass line that isn't the same, but it's like, this thing's got the punch, the space, the power. Mine doesn't. How do we get there? Because we're not interested in how you get that exact result. What we're interested in is being able to hear what you're hearing, because often what happens is people's vocabulary let them down when they're explaining stuff. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's difficult to explain sometimes music, and even people's interpretation of it can be quite difficult to pull out as well. And what we're looking for is, right, okay, in this respect, this is what I'd really like to achieve. Okay, great. Then we can give you our best possible feedback on that and how people who are good at it in the group are doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Beautiful stuff. Sarah B.
Do we have to upload complete tracks, or can we upload a loop?
Oh, a loop's great. All the better.
Yeah.
All the better. Yeah, I mean, that's a brilliant question. And this, guys and girls, goes for if you're asking for help anywhere, like, let's talk about the FMM Plus Facebook group for now. But honestly, when you're asking people for help, my number one consideration is how can I make it as easy as possible for them to help? So to go to this loop idea, let's say you had 4 different reference tracks that were exemplifying, let's say 4 tracks you'd written, let's put it that way, and you were really interested in getting people's thoughts on which one had the best groove. If you upload in the group, hey, here's 4 pieces of music of mine, like, can you have a listen to these 4 tracks? Like people with the best of intentions who want to help you might look at that and think, blimey, if they're each 7 minutes long, let's say, that's 35 minutes. Then when I've listened to these pieces of music, I've got to like start making a judgment and bounce. That could be like an hour and a half. People go, oh, maybe I can get round to it later. But if you went like, here's 4 8-bar loops in a folder that you can download and put them in your DAW, like people could get that done in 10 minutes. So yeah, always be thinking of, you know, what's the easiest way to get my point across in a hot seat. Like, if you can't, that's fine. I'm going to help coach you on it. But there's, by saying, well, this is one of the things I'm constantly rubbing up against, and I'd love to be able to nail this thing so that I'm not asking about this very often, because I got this, I know what I'm doing, I got this shit, I'm down with this. It's like, be as precise as you can, and of course we'll talk about it in the call. And I imagine that, again, for our alumni, that these hot seats will go longer per person. I may be wrong, but I imagine it will. But what I'm really interested in is in coaching you as opposed to providing a solution for a piece of music. Because once that's done, same deal next time. And we've seen that in the group, right? We've seen it to the point in the past of someone keep asking the same question and us keep saying, no, you got it, you got it, you got it. And it still keeps coming because it's a confidence issue. So that's what we're doing. Let's fix this and have everyone leveling up. Okay, that itch is done. And like I say, it might take months for you to get this thing nailed, but having a really great, efficient, effective path to get there, wow, what a difference. Or it might be as quick as, here's what I do. Put a delay on this thing. You're going around this the long way, put a delay on it, dial that in, and you are there. Here's how I don't spend time designing this thing, just buy that pack. Whatever. You know, it could be something as simple as that as well. Oh, we got it. Beautiful. Well, I think that's it. I think you've all got your dates and times. You've got your sprints. You've got what it is you're going to get on with. The important thing here is to remember you're part of this group. And I know that obviously you've got your kind of support bubbles, which is great. And you're all rooting for each other for the sprint. Even when you come out the other side of it, you've made so many connections now. We put you in breakout rooms to brainstorm things together. You're in groups together now. There might be people here that you haven't connected with yet. Get them on your list so that if you start rubbing up against something, you can lean on each other. And of course, as I've said before, I'm always here for you as well. Okay, if you need me, I'm always here for you. If you start hitting a wall and it's getting in your way, like, let's get it out in the open. Let's get it fixed so that you keep motoring on. Alrighty, so before we go, I'd like to get a few shares. What have you found to be the most valuable takeaway for you, or the most valuable thing, to keep it quite vague, from these couple of days that we've been online together? Andreas?
I must say, Keith, that being a bit in that group, these last 2 days in general have been the best sessions we have done yet, to me.
Oh wow, awesome!
Simply because the speed we are going through all the stuff, and the repetitiveness, which we splitted it before, but now you have a big chunk of overview, and the presentation was just spot on with the examples you brought up. So for me, it was nearly a breakthrough again, even if I have been in the group for a while. So
awesome.
In general, I can say awesome. Thanks.
Is there something personally that you took that was of a real value for you, Andreas?
Yeah, definitely. I rethought my goals yesterday as well, because at the enlightened moment for me was when we were set up in the breakout rooms, to have an opinion of another person, which is a complete neutral person on my own goals, which was an enlightened moment. So thanks to all of you to just reflect on that. And that was something which I'm pretty sure will get you completely different start into the quarter, because the sprint is now set up differently, the goals are set up differently. Otherwise, you will cope with your own, I would say, with the old things which you can't really manage. And we brought up that the attachment yesterday. Attachment is a thing which I have to relieve, and I could instantly see that by having a neutral opinion on that, and that was beneficial in every way.
Beautiful, love it. Thank you for sharing, man. That's awesome. Thank you, Parky.
To unmute myself. Yeah, I think there's a couple of things really. I want to echo what Andreas said really about. I really like the breakout room yesterday, and straight away Carol came up with this tool that I could use, something that should be baking my noodle for ages. It just went, oh, we'll just try this and this. And also Simon posted me a link to Mix Engineer, which was someone that does tutorials. It was like straight away, there's two things that have been driving me mad. But I think the other thing, which is big, is just the energy again, because the energy started really high last year. And as the year went on, it kind of tapered a little bit. And then as, you know, and I just think having new people in the group, I was really worried, you know, coming because it's, you know, the group gets fragmented, but having the new people and new energy has just picked me straight back up. And this year I feel really positive again, and just doing these sessions really got me kind of bouncing again and got me excited for it. You know, I felt like I was pretty negative at the start going, not negative, but I wasn't as positive, and I'm raring to go now. You know, when we had a little break then I just turned around, did some music, you know, for 10 minutes. I'm just really excited about it. So
amazing. So have the new members got a thumbs up from you, Parky? Have they passed the test?
Well selected.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Arena.
Yeah, my takeaway, the main one, is that it's a game. Like, I've never thought of this process like that. It lifts off the pressure entirely. Not entirely, it lifts some uncomfortable zones, but it lifts the pressure off. It's a game, it's my rules, I'm playing it. I also, about the goals and projects, I used to make my projects as goals. And whilst I was preparing for this workshop, I again done that, and I've went through 2-3 times, and oh no, that's not a good goal. No, that's not a goal. And then I came up with goals, which I shared yesterday, and like that was a moment for me. And the last thing, as always, positive talk. Like, it pumps me up so much that after yesterday's session, I think I was in the middle of panic a little bit, like, how am I going to do this and blah, blah, blah. But today, like, all these feelings are gone, and I'm suspiciously calm and confident like in what I'm about to do. And I'm like, did I do something wrong? But actually, no, like, no, that's game. That's my belief. That's my rules. I think I got it. So
totally. I love it. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And, you know, you've hit a really important aspect, I think, which is worth just kind of underlining for everyone. On the other side of tension is release. On the other side of confusion is clarity. On the other side of overwhelm is whelm. I don't know, whatever it is, right? But is organization, whatever it might be. And that's life. That it kind of goes like that. So whenever we're going through something that's a bit like, whoo, know that that's a good thing, because there's a breakthrough on the other side of it every single time. Beautiful share. Thank you so much, Sarah B.
I'll mute myself. Yeah, actually, this goal setting session, I feel like it's the first one really where it's clicked for me. I really struggled with it last year, and I found myself setting goals that just because I felt like I needed to set a goal, and I was making goals that I thought you would want me to make, or the group would want me to make, instead of because I was kind of like, I don't really understand it, or I don't really, it's too difficult. That mindset is too difficult for me. So I'm just going to go through the motions. Whereas I think watching the goal setting masterclass all the way through, like in my own space, each section, was quite powerful for me, because I mean, I've done this process obviously quite a few times now, but there was something about going all the way through it, and something about the way that you explained it in the masterclass that just really sort of hit home for me. So yeah, I mean, I found that the Mount Everest that I did on my own with you, just with you on the video, was a really good one. I mean, it's similar to the one that we did together last year. So that was really, it was really, I sort of got it. But I mean, the other thing that I wanted to say to you is about, not necessarily just about this year, was the masterclass, the mastermind that we had towards the end of last year, which obviously the rest of the guys won't know about. But some of the things you said about, you know, we only have the stories that we tell ourselves, and, you know, I decided that I was a particular kind of person, and I've done such a lot of thinking about that over Christmas, and I've really kind of decided that I'm not going to be that person anymore, and that I'm going to change everything. So, you know, I am now going to live the life of an organized person, and I've got tools. I've done a lot of research about tools to help me and things. So yeah, this year I'm just like wide open to doing everything differently. All the things that I struggled with or didn't do as well as I could last year, I'm just wide open to be a new me.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
so,
and it really is testament to how coachable you are as well. I know I've said this to you before, but you're incredibly coachable, and you bring so much to the group through that aspect. You know, without all the other amazing things you bring, but that is such a superpower to be that open to being coachable. And the goal setting thing, as well as the different environment you might have done it, is a skill, and you're getting much better at it, and you're removing lots of things that may have, that, you know, we talked about the box before, but, you know, it's the prison we built we can't even see, and a lot of things you might not even see that you've lifted. You've done it because you're doing the work, which has been amazing. So wow.
I mean, I'm reflecting every day. I've got this journal, which is my bullet. This is not just my music journal, this is my life journal now, and I'm like, every day I'm reflecting. I know every time, like that diagram with the captain and the captains and the drifters. I've always been a drifter, and like that sort of really resonated. So I'm making sure that I'm living a more intentional life, and I'm a captain. I'm a captain.
Damn right you are.
Yeah, no, but it's all good. I'm excited to crack on and
beautiful. My gosh,
take over the world.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Simon.
So just echoing, I guess, the sentiments of what's been said before, really, but the group is the amazing thing. So I've spoken to a few members in between the first session a couple of weeks ago and this session, and the vibe has been really, really good. So I feel really well supported, which is quite nice, particularly as like I work from home full time. So like I'm on a first name basis with all the DPD drivers. They're basically my friends because I don't live in the house. And so it's quite nice to know people that aren't in the courier industry. It's quite a novel thing. That's quite nice. And then just in terms of the process, I was thinking about it yesterday during the course. So this only work if people played the game Lemmings when they were kids. But like I've very much seen myself as a lemming, and you're the person clicking the mouse. All I've got to do is follow you in this group, actually, and probably we won't die in the process. It'll probably be all right. We'll probably get out the door. So I guess the plan isn't fully complete, but it's nice to know that it's started to be completed. You know.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's so good hearing, you know, people echoing as well about the group of individuals. I said to our alumni how excited I was about all the new people coming into this group. What an absolute gift it is to have you all here. You've all been absolutely incredible throughout these 2 days, and I know that's going to carry on the whole time. So that's brilliant. I mean, at some point, hopefully, you'll get a parcel and you can introduce us to one of the drivers, and we can welcome them into the fold.
I shit you not. There was this one guy, Darren, or Dazzler as we called him. We got to know him quite well. He was saving up for a house during COVID, and because COVID was happening, everybody's at home. he was doing that much delivery work that he could afford to get his deposit on his house, and he was looking to move out. Yeah, it was a really nice story. And then one day he just didn't show up. It was a bit like Goodwill Hunting, but with a courier driver.
Oh, I love it. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Simon. Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for sharing, gang. That was awesome. So yeah, that's us. That's our 2 days. You've obviously got your calendars with our next session, which we've talked about, which is our music hot seats. The group team leaders, you know what you're doing, where you're directing them, how you're herding them, and all of that good stuff. But I just want to really, really double underline that just because someone is the team leader here, that doesn't mean that they have even 0.1% more responsibility than everybody else. That isn't the deal. The deal is you're all 100% responsible for yourselves and for every other member in the group. Just think about that. 100% responsible for them as much as you are for yourself. Try playing from that place and see what happens. You might not have played from that place before. I hadn't until I learned a bunch of stuff here. But try that. Try imagining that you are like an organism, and you know it's literally, you know, if one person is falling behind, it's like your arms rotting off, basically. So if you play that game as everybody is as important to everybody else, and each part of you is absolutely vital, and integrity means not, and I really want to double line this, not right or wrong. It's not a game of morals. Integrity is to be whole, complete, and perfect at the end of the 2 weeks. And so if just one person doesn't get over the line on one thing, then there's a lack of integrity. And integrity simply means not performing as well as you could perform in this instance. Okay, it's not right or wrong or bad. And please make sure that you hold that with you. It's just simply a matter of workability. So let's see if you can pull it off as teams and like be supporting each other, you know, man or woman down, get them up, this person's ahead, come back and grab the rest of the group, that kind of attitude, and let's see how we get on. As always, if you need me for anything, I'll speak to you soon, but thank you for showing up as the best version of yourselves.
I think Lee had a question. Did you have a question?
I did, yeah.
Or did he? I thought he was just unmuted and having a conversation or doing something,
with someone else
beautiful like that during my closing prose. What have you got?
Do we have a time by which we have to post up for our sprint?
Just on the 2 weeks.
Yeah, on the group.
Any time you like.
Right. Okay.
No points for coming in first. Different people, different time zones. But just cool. You know, and this is a part of the integrity. You know, if everyone on the team had ticked everything on their list, but one person doesn't report back and that post is incomplete or late, then it's not perfect, whole, and working condition.
So no time, but there is a day.
Yes, 2 weeks tomorrow. Can say
no. For us to do our initial post, like usually you say,
I see.
You know, we have to get it up by.
But as soon as possible, obviously, so that everyone can see what everyone's shooting for and help one another out. You know, as I said, it's not a competition. It may be that you'll read another group's thing and think, oh my gosh, I could really help that person. Wonderful. Imagine if all 15 people got over the line on everything on their 2 week sprint. What would that say? That would be incredible. Okay, peace out then, people. Take care. You probably need a bit of white space and a relaxation, or maybe you're all pumped. You're like Sarah B in the arena, and you're like, and Parky's like, turn the call off. I need to make some tunes. Whatever it might be, wherever you're at, go for it. And if you need us, you know where to find us. Take care, people. Speak to you soon.
Keith.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
Bye.